Hello, good afternoon.
Hello.
Hello, Antonio. Good evening. Hi.
Good. Hi, how are you?
Fine, thank you. Everyone, welcome to the press conference for Here and There, Aqui e Allá. We are very fortunate to have the director with us, Antonio Méndez Esparza.
Thank you.
So I will start by asking you a few questions. Can you see me okay?
Yes,
Okay,
very
great.
well.
And then I will open it up to the ladies and gentlemen of the audience. And may I just remind you that you will be presented with a microphone to ask your question to facilitate the wonderful technological world that we live in now. So Antonio, I've read that the actor who plays Pedro, the wonderful actor who plays Pedro, had appeared in your short film. So I'm wondering if you could tell us about how you met him.
Well, actually, I met him very close to where you are now because I was casting for my previous short film called Time and Again, and I was looking all over New York and in Fairway on 72nd Street. I met him there working. Of course, I was doing a long process of casting, but I met him right there, and I offered him the opportunity to come to a casting session, and then from then on we started working, and then we became friends.
Okay. And when you were writing the script for Here and There, did you have Pedro specifically in mind? Was it constructed around him?
Yes, very much. I mean, after during the period of casting, the previous short, I was very moved by many stories I heard, and after I finished the script, Pedro was returning home, and he was gonna build a band. So that became like a reality. Of course, I went to shoot the film 1 year and a half after he had returned. So I wasn't there the moment he really returned. We kind of recreated it. But yes, it was very much inspired by his real life.
I see, I see. Let me open it up to the audience. Please raise your hand if you have any questions. I will keep asking questions in the meantime. My sense is that the film was a very collaborative effort, that there was a lot of input from your, I believe, exclusively non-professional cast. Could you talk about that, about working with them, or what it was like getting input from them? Did that change the direction of your original script?
Well, yes, in many ways. No, I mean, of course, every time you have a script, no, even if we didn't follow it many times, but there were some specifics, no, like okay, this is the scene when you come back, this is the scene when you connect a little bit more. This, so you have these ideas of having these scenes, but of course, then many details, no, were much richer because I asked them, okay, how would you do this? How would you do that? Then another thing that happened during the film was that I was very moved, and I fell in love with many things that happened around while making the film. No, so I many times try to have the narrative sort of go around and show more things that I felt. Some are there, some are not, but we shot it anyway. I was in a way. I always say that I never wanted the movie to end. In a way, I wanted to keep shooting.
Right, right. And how did you find I mean, the entire cast is phenomenal, but how did you find the young girls who play the daughters, Lorena and Heidi?
Well, at the very beginning when I was there, it was a very small team that pulled the movie together, and I really tried to use his real daughters. So we even rehearsed and everything, but they were they say, dar pena. They were very ashamed of acting, no? So then that was one of the biggest things. We tried to look for two actresses that could play his real daughters, not actresses, two girls, and that was very long process. I mean, long, not in like took like a month and a half, 2 months, but we were every day going to schools, and seeing girls. But that was very good because in the script, perhaps the daughters were not so. Certainly, both were kind of happy. No, while casting, I realized that probably the daughters would be a little bit more distant to him, and finally Lorena, who is very not pretty distant, it was her character, no, and I thought it was a wonderful thing.
questions? Yes, right here. Just please wait for the microphone. Thank you.
Can you hear me? Yeah. We've seen movies where we've seen the side of this experience from the worker here in the United States. Have you seen any other films that have depicted this story, and is that what inspired you to make the film? Because this story hasn't been told from that point of view of when they're back home.
Yeah, I have seen some films, certainly, that approach documentaries to feature films that tackle very similar issues. I was very, I was worried in a way because I am not Mexican, say, so of course it's an issue that many times they think that as a foreigner you're gonna do, or they are even tired. So I was more aware of doing something that felt for me truthful, more than seeing other films. I was very worried about making a truthful film, honest, in my perspective, of course.
There are other questions.
In Mexico, the word allá, there, often refers to el otro lado, the other side. And I wondered, death seems to subtly hover over the story. Can you talk a little bit about that, please?
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's funny because the film was, well, funny just about the allá, no? Because the script was called aquí y allí, but then when I was there, I changed it to allá because they say allá, no? They refer to the other side. And regarding for me, it's a kind of mad element at the end of the film. Creeps in slow, but we kind of introduced a little bit more in the editing than being described. We felt that thematically it made sense. So it was a decision that was made. We had the material and we could do it in the editing room. It wasn't something that I really planned in the script. There was something. I think what we found is much better. So,
Other questions? Yes, here in the center. Woman here in the center? Yeah.
She has, yeah. The baby, the scenes about the baby. How did you do that? Whose baby was it? And I don't know. I mean, of course, it's tremendously real, and you feel like you're really there, but it's a movie. So, what's a story about how you used the baby and whose baby it was, please?
yes. In that part of the film, that certainly is a little bit more dramatic one. The actors were really incredible for me. And regarding the baby, well, we had the full permit at the hospital, and we asked the parents. There are two babies. There is one that's in a machine, and then there is another baby that is the one that arrives to the house. While shooting, the hospital where we shot actually is a hospital. The main purpose of the hospital is for women to give birth. So we were there like a week. So we met a lot of people, and one couple was very nice to their turn to their house and have it.
I'm sorry, you're breaking up. I don't know if there's
Yes,
anything you...
excuse me, Antonio, we're having a bit of technical difficulties. Can we fix those technical difficulties? Okay. All right, I'm sorry to interrupt. Please continue.
No. When did you lose me, or I start again?
I beg your pardon?
It was the couple in the hospital who were very nice.
Yes, okay, so there were two babies. One, we asked the parents because the baby was in a special machine. And then the other baby, which is a different one, as we were shooting for over a week or 10 days in the hospital, we met many people, and we asked this couple if we could bring the newborn baby to the set in a way, and they were happy to do so. So that was the story with the two babies.
Thank you so much.
And I'm sorry, and the third baby, which is the baby that grows, is actually his real daughter.
Oh, wow.
Thanks.
Other questions? Yes.
Yeah, right here.
Hola Antonio, ¿qué tal?
Hola, ¿qué tal?
También en español, I'm gonna translate anyways, but only in Spanish, aquí y allá, it could be for every immigrant, and it's like, we don't belong here nor there after a while, so what was it? What was that in your mind while you were filming the movie as well?
It was in my mind. Yes, this idea of when you leave a place to go back, things are very different, no? So in a way, it's the person that leaves when he comes back or when he's there is always in between. It's yes.
Other questions? When you were first getting to meet Pedro, were you aware of his amazing talent as a musician?
No. Everything was a surprise. At the very beginning, I was just looking for an actor that could play an immigrant worker in the U.S. And then once he came to me and said, I have a band and this and that. And then that him being a musician was actually the ending of the short film I did before. And then the fact that he has a band, and then I thought, no, everything is a surprise.
And the Copa Kings, that is his real band. That wasn't just a group of musicians who came together for your film.
No. That's actually a real band.
And they tour Mexico.
Well, they toured that region of Mexico. In that region, which is in Guerrero, no? But in the mountains, there is actually a lot of bands. It's not like in the village you saw in the film, like Copanatoyac. There is actually like 5 or 6 bands. There is even 2 or 3 DJs called Sonidos. So it's kind of, they try to tour around, of course, but there is competition, It's not easy to get the contracts and stuff. So yes, it's actually a common, music is very present in where we shot the film.
And one of the many themes in the film is not just this idea of what is here and what is there, but what is home, what constitutes home, how we feel when we miss home. Is this something that you talked about with your performers a lot? I mean, I guess especially Pedro, who has worked in New York and has returned, and how our definitions of home shift throughout our lives.
That we didn't talk much about that because what I wanted through the film is really to create life at home. No, for me it was obvious that some things that perhaps were a little bit simple, or like when they walk on the lake and things, to create these memories. No, so for me there was no need to. This is more, let's say, literary or more abstract. No, so it's something to talk with. But I did talk more like when, how many times you called home when you were away, how were your nights in New York, what did you do? Very practical things, no? To understand, perhaps.
Okay. Sorry, can we fix the Skype disconnect? Okay, all right. Other questions? Yes, in the back. Just wait for the microphone, please.
You just said you're from Spain, so how did you get interested in Mexico? And you just said that you were in New York. Were you living in New York City?
Yes. I was in New York for a long time, for like 8 years. I studied there film, and well, I think it's a progressive relationship. No, I made some films. At the end, those films were about immigrants in New York, and then I met more Mexican people, and it's more a personal story than me deciding I want to do a film in Mexico. No, if I hadn't met Pedro, I wouldn't have done this film, or if Pedro was from some other place, I would have done it in this, in the country where he was. But I guess sharing a similar language, and that helped, of course, very much. So it's a very organic thing for me. I was very cautious about making this film in a way. I had many doubts at some point.
Yes, next question. This, yeah.
Thank you. I'd like to ask you about the framing and cinematography, the still camera, the sense that, I'm not sure if people walked in and out of the frame, but the sense that there was here and there because of the still camera, the sense of a wider place outside the frame.
For me, what I really tried and do is recreate a very pure, like in a way, like the Lumiere brothers, a very pure cinema, no, a very of in the moment. Although they're acting and not acting or improvising, so I wanted to keep it as integral as I could. For me, that was the main idea, no, and also have the audience feel able to see them time and kind of to sit back and enjoy their intimacy in a way. That was for me the main idea.
Antonio, I'm just curious if I may ask you to say a bit more about something you said just a moment ago, that you had, when you were initially conceiving the project, that you had some doubts or some hesitations. Was that about wanting to avoid certain traps or certain kinds of cliches in telling this kind of story? Or could you just share with us what you were hesitant or nervous about?
Well, yes, no, I mean, definitely not to fall in cliches, not to also kind of tell an unrealistic story, no, to be a bad, we say in Spanish, un flaco favor. It would be, I didn't want to create like a false mirror, no? And as you know, it took time for me to really understand that because I was a foreigner, even in that place, it made sense for me to tell the story through my eyes. Some points I thought, oh, maybe you're a European person coming here and trying to tell something that maybe has no worth. It's not. So I had a lot of, at least some of this, the beginning, until we started working and we felt that we were gonna go in a direction that was gonna try to do something be realistic or pure, be honest way.
Just want to take one last, yes, question here.
You mentioned that you wanted to tell the story of what happens at home in Mexico to people who are immigrating to the United States, et cetera. How typical in Mexican art in general and literature in the past 10 years, 15 years, is the kind of approach you have? Telling very, in an understated way, what happens in Mexico itself as to the impact of this on people in their everyday lives.
This for me is a very, very good question, but unfortunately I don't have the knowledge to really approach all these art forms, not to say, okay, here and there and this and that. I mean, I know there are some great films, great novels. I don't have really the knowledge of the last 15, 20 years or even to really tackle this question. No? I think what I would say is that in a way, the valid thing, what is valid, if there is anything valid about this film, is that is my personal perspective. That's what could be.
There are other questions? Well, I will conclude by asking you, Antonio, one last question, and then one of the producers of the film would like to say something to the audience. I would imagine, did your own definition of home change while you were making this film?
Yes, in a way. Through looking at the lens and through looking at not at the film, but while we were making the film, no, I shared many things with the characters and with the people there that perhaps I was not so aware of. Certainly home took more roots on me. I was always living away. Now I'm back in Spain. So certainly, in a way, it was, for me, it was very moving making the film. So that was because all these constant concept of what we have to leave, what we love. So yes.
Okay. All right, sorry, we lost you there for a second. The problems of these high-tech communication modes. Well, Antonio, thank you so much. We look forward to welcoming you back to a place that was your home for at least a few years. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me here. It's a great honor and pleasure to be part
It's-
of the
It's a great
festival.
honor and pleasure for us. Thank you. Look forward to seeing you. And now one of the producers wanted to share something with
Hi,
us.
Antonio. Nice seeing you, by the way. So hi, my name is Ori, and this is Tim. We were two of the producers on the film, and thank you guys so much for coming. Thank you. Yeah, in light of the technical difficulties, of course, should you have any further questions, we're here and we're very available. We're based in Brooklyn and are always happy to conduct interviews. And of course, should you like to speak with Antonio, happy to conduct or arrange for phoners or any sort of interviews that you might like to have to follow up or clarify further. So thank you guys so much for coming, and thank you to the New York Film Festival, of course, for having us. Thanks, Antonio. Nice to see you, Jefe.
Thank you,
Abrazos.
Antonio. Okay, good night. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. And sorry again for the technical glitches.